Earlier this month, the United Kingdom Supreme Court ruled that children under the age of 16 are, quote, unlikely to be able to give informed consent, unquote, concerning puberty blockers. They went on to actually say this. Let me read from their opinion or their ruling. It is, quote, highly unlikely that a child age 13 or under would be competent to give consent to the administration of puberty blockers. It is doubtful that a child age 14 or 15 could understand and weigh the long-term risk and consequences of the administration of puberty blockers, end quote. Well, in response to this and the conversations about the fact that, children should not be able to make these decisions, they just don't have the capacity, an activist, a transgender activist, tweeted out that all children should be put on puberty blockers until they reach a point at which they can determine what their own gender would be. Okay. Joining me now to talk more about this, FRC Senior Fellow for Policy Studies, Peter Sprigg. Peter, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Tony.
Look, there's more and more evidence coming forth with those who are transitioning from having gone through this transgender movement that are saying, look, this is a big mistake. I shouldn't have done it. I wish I hadn't have. In fact, this case in the United Kingdom resulted as a biological female sued the National Health Services for allowing her to go through the process as an adolescent. So what's going on here?
Well, you set it up very well. I think that the Supreme Court decision in the United Kingdom was really a shot across the bow. I think that for years, these transgender activists and LGBT activists in general have been accustomed to people just taking sort of the things that they say as as truth, just because they're politically correct, and having nobody question them. And now people are questioning them. We had that UK court decision, which is very important. We had, of course, the laws that were proposed here in the U.S. in South Dakota and Alabama last year that we at FRC were very active in supporting, which unfortunately didn't get across the finish line, which would have would prohibit these procedures for minors. And I think that transgender activists like this individual who goes by Zinnia Jones are realizing that they may be losing this debate, as they should be.
So she was later questioned about this. She said she wasn't really serious. She was trying to make an argument saying that, well, if children under 16 didn't have the capacity to make this decision to take puberty blockers, then all children should be put on puberty blockers until they had the capacity to make the decision, which is, absurd on its face. And so she's backing away from that tweet. But it does show just how illogical the trans movement is.
Yes, because the equivalency that this person is positing, and it's actually a biological male who identifies as female, is that
it's hard to keep up with all that.
Yeah.
so forgive me.
So the argument that we make is that children are not able to give informed consent to a radical treatment like puberty-blocking hormones, cross-sex hormones, and gender reassignment surgery, which would permanently alter their body and in fact, sterilize them for life. And this person is trying to turn that around and saying, well, they can't give consent to the permanent changes that happen to their body through puberty.
Which is normal, natural.
Which is normal, natural development. Yeah, that's like arguing in favor of abortion because the fetus cannot, the unborn child cannot give consent to being born. Okay, this is the normal development of life, and to equate that with the artificial application of these chemicals and so forth and surgical procedures is just absurd on the face of it, as you said.
Well, and Peter, there are a lot of things in which at certain age, there are age restrictions. For instance, you under 21, you can't drink. Under 18, you can't join the military. Under 17, you can't join the military without parental consent. You can't vote. So there's in some states under the age of 16 you can't marry, under 17 you can't marry without parental consent. So there's a lot of restrictions based upon capacity to comprehend the weight of these decisions, and something, as you pointed out, with puberty blockers that can sterilize, that have life altering, that cannot be reversed. You would think that a reasonable person would say, yes, we don't want children making those types of decisions.
Exactly, and that's what the UK Supreme Court said, and we'd like to see more states and the nation adopt that position here as well.
And that's pretty striking that the UK, which is much further down the leftist road, would make such a decision. Peter Sprigg, thanks so much for joining us.